Right now, as you hear these words, something beneath kilometers of Antarctic ice could completely rewrite everything we know about human history. And this isn't a metaphor. Picture a continent the size of the United States and Mexico combined, buried under an ice shell up to 5 kilometers thick. A place where temperatures plunge to minus 90 degrees, where wind can strip skin from your face in seconds, where half the year drowns in absolute darkness. The most inhospitable place on Earth. And precisely there, in this frozen hell, lie things that shouldn't exist. In 2016, a team of Russian scientists drilled a borehole 3.5 kilometers deep in East Antarctica. They were searching for access to Lake Vostok, a subglacial lake isolated from the rest of the world for 20 million years. When the drill reached water, instruments detected an anomaly. A magnetic anomaly so powerful it knocked out navigation equipment. The official explanation? Concentration of iron ore in the bedrock. But the size of this anomaly rivals a major city. And it's not in the bedrock. It's under the ice, in the lake itself. What could create a magnetic field of such strength 4 kilometers beneath the continent's surface? Scientists proposed several versions, but none explains all the data. The water temperature in Lake Vostok hovers around 0 degrees. The water remains liquid despite sitting under kilometers of ice with surface temperatures at minus 50. Why doesn't it freeze? Geothermal heat from Earth's interior, possibly. But there's another detail few discuss: the lake's shape. When geologists compiled a 3-dimensional map of Lake Vostok using seismic data, they discovered something strange. The lake has an almost perfect rectangular shape, 250 kilometers long, 50 wide. Natural water bodies don't look like this. They have irregular shores, follow terrain, curve. Lake Vostok looks carved by a giant instrument. This is only the beginning. Scattered across Antarctica are anomalies that don't fit the official picture of the world. Satellite images show structures beneath the ice that resemble city ruins. Ground-penetrating radars detect cavities, corridors, chambers of regular geometric shape. Expeditions find artifacts dating to times when Antarctica should have been covered in ice. And all this is carefully hidden. Why? Because the truth about Antarctica would shatter fundamental assumptions about our past. Because beneath this ice may lie proof that human civilization is far older than we think. Or that we're not the only intelligent beings to have inhabited this planet. Antarctica wasn't always a frozen desert. Geological data unequivocally shows that 12,000 years ago, the continent's climate was temperate. Forests grew here, rivers flowed, animals roamed. Then, suddenly, everything changed. Temperature plummeted, snow began accumulating. Within several millennia, the continent transformed into an ice sarcophagus. What caused this change? Official theory speaks of slow continental drift. Antarctica moved to the South Pole. Climate cooled. Glaciation began. A gradual, natural process. But data shows otherwise. The change was rapid, too rapid for geological processes. In 1949, Admiral Byrd's expedition discovered frozen trees on the shores of the Ross Sea. The trees stood vertically, as if they'd grown recently, then were instantly frozen. Growth rings showed they grew in a temperate climate. Radiocarbon analysis dated them to approximately 6,000 years ago. But official science claims Antarctica has been ice-covered for millions of years. How could trees grow 6,000 years ago? Either the dating is wrong, or the continent's history is nothing like what we're told. Now remember the maps. The Piri-Reis map from 1513, showing Antarctica's coastline without ice. The Orontius-Phineas map from 1531, with detailed depiction of the continent, its mountains, rivers, bays. The Mercator map from 1569, where Antarctica is divided by a strait into two land masses, something confirmed only in the 20th century by seismic research. How could 15th century cartographers know what Antarctica looks like under the ice? The continent itself was officially discovered only in 1820, and even then, explorers saw only ice. The coastline beneath the ice sheet was mapped only in the 1950s using radar. Where did ancient cartographers get this information? Piri-Reis, the Turkish admiral, wrote in the margins of his map that he used more ancient sources, some dating to the time of Alexander the Great or earlier. Someone mapped Antarctica thousands of years ago, when it wasn't yet ice-covered. Someone possessing technologies of navigation, cartography, possibly even aerial photography. Professor Charles Hapgood, who studied these maps in the 1960s, concluded they're based on observations from great height. The projection used on the maps requires spherical trigonometry and understanding of Earth's curvature. The accuracy of coastline depiction matches modern satellite imagery. How is this possible? There are only two explanations. Either an advanced civilization existed, possessing mapping technologies, which existed before Antarctica's glaciation, or someone else, a non-human civilization, mapped the continent and left this data. But let's dig deeper, because maps are only the tip of the iceberg, if you'll pardon the pun. In 2001, American military satellites detected something unusual in Antarctica: a thermal anomaly in the Wilkes Land region. An area of about 300 square kilometers was emitting heat. Surface ice temperature in this zone was 5 to 7 degrees higher than surrounding territory. What could produce such quantities of heat under kilometers of ice? Geothermal activity, possibly, but research showed no volcanoes in this region, no faults, no signs of tectonic activity. Heat emanates from a specific point, not distributed across an area as would occur with a geothermal source, and it's constant, unchanging over time. A group of independent researchers suggested that beneath the ice lies an active structure, something producing energy, a base, reactor, device of unknown purpose. Sounds insane, but the explanation must be either this or a natural phenomenon we don't understand. In 2006, a team of scientists from several countries received permission for an expedition to the anomaly. They took drilling equipment, radars, seismic sensors. Goal: drill a borehole and take samples from the thermal radiation zone. The expedition reached the location, established camp, began drilling. After 2 weeks, contact was lost. A rescue team arrived a month later. The camp was abandoned. Equipment was working, generators functioning, but no people. No signs of struggle, no traces of departure. The people simply vanished. In journals, the last entry was dated the day before contact ceased. A short phrase: "We've reached the target. Beginning descent." Official conclusion: the team perished from hypothermia during a blizzard. Bodies not found, presumably buried by snow. Case closed. No more expeditions were sent to this anomaly. Information about the incident was classified for 50 years. Why? If this was a simple, tragic accident, why the secrecy? There are rumors that before disappearing, the team transmitted a brief message on an emergency channel, a message that was immediately classified. Contents unknown, but several sources close to military circles claimed the scientists found an entrance. An entrance to what? That remains a mystery. The thermal anomaly in Wilkes Land isn't the only one. Across Antarctica, satellites detect dozens of similar points, some located under multi-kilometer ice in the continent's center, where there should be no geological activity. Others near the coast, beneath ice shelves. Their distribution pattern isn't random. In 2012, an amateur researcher studying Google Earth satellite images discovered a strange detail. If you connect the largest thermal anomalies with lines, you get a geometric figure. Not perfect, but regular enough to exclude coincidence. An irregular pentagon with additional points inside. What is this? A network? Communication system? Energy grid? The scientific community didn't respond. No explanation was even offered, just silence. But online discussion began. Thousands of people started studying images, searching for additional anomalies. And they found them. Structures beneath the ice, protruding elements too regular for natural formations. Circular objects hundreds of meters in diameter, arranged in even rows. Rectangular platforms visible on radar images. Even something resembling runways. Sections of smooth surface stretching for kilometers beneath the ice cover. In 2013, NASA published results from Antarctica imaging using ice-penetrating radar. Data showed the presence beneath ice of numerous lakes, rivers, even entire cave systems. But there were other findings, mentioned only in passing in the official report. Structures of artificial origin cannot be excluded. One phrase in a 200-page document, no further details. What did they find? Why was NASA, an organization whose mission is space exploration, conducting Antarctica imaging? And why are results of this imaging partially classified? Answers may lie in the history of military presence in Antarctica. After World War II, several countries, including the USA, USSR, Great Britain, began active continent exploration. Officially scientific expeditions, but the scale of operations raises questions. Operation High Jump, 1946 to 1947. American expedition under Admiral Richard Byrd's command. Official goal: equipment testing in extreme conditions, personnel training, mapping. Expedition composition: 13 ships including an aircraft carrier, 23 aircraft, 4,700 personnel. This isn't a scientific expedition. This is a military operation. The expedition was planned to last 8 months. It was terminated after 2. Official reason: weather conditions. But Admiral Byrd, in a post-return interview, said something strange. He mentioned the need for protection from hostile regions, spoke of new technologies the expedition encountered. The interview was quickly forgotten. Complete expedition materials remain classified to this day. What did they find there? Why was such a massive military operation needed in a region with no military threat? And why was the expedition suddenly terminated? There's a theory that Operation High Jump wasn't a scientific mission, but military reconnaissance. The goal was detecting and destroying secret Nazi bases. In the war's final years, Nazi Germany actively explored Antarctica. The 1938-39 expedition under Captain Alfred Richer mapped extensive territory named New Swabia. Germans dropped pennants with swastikas from aircraft, claiming territorial rights. Documents exist indicating underground base construction. Plans envisioned creating shelters for the elite, laboratories, storage facilities. After the war, many high-ranking Nazis disappeared. Officially, most were captured or killed, but some, including technical specialists, scientists, were never found. Theory states they fled to Antarctica, continued work on secret projects. When the Allies learned of this, Operation High Jump was sent to destroy the bases. But the expedition encountered resistance, technologies they didn't expect. Aircraft of unknown design, weapons capable of shooting down American fighters. Losses were such that the operation had to be terminated. Sounds like conspiracy theory, and perhaps it is, but facts remain. The expedition was massive. It was military. It was suddenly terminated. And Admiral Byrd spoke of hostile regions and new technologies. What could this mean if not confrontation with an unknown force? Now let's talk about what's not under the ice, but inside it. Because Antarctica's ice sheet isn't just frozen water, it's an archive, a chronicle of Earth's climate for millions of years. Each ice layer contains air bubbles, dust particles, volcanic ash, plant pollen. Analyzing ice cores, scientists can reconstruct the planet's history. And in this history are oddities. In the 1980s, Soviet researchers drilling the Vostok borehole discovered anomalous inclusions in ice cores. At a depth of about 2 kilometers, corresponding to ice age of approximately 400,000 years, were found particles that shouldn't be there. Microscopic metallic spheres. Composition: alloy of iron, nickel, chromium. Size from several microns to a millimeter. What is this? Meteorite dust, possibly, but concentration is too high, and composition doesn't match typical meteorites. These spheres show signs of artificial origin. Perfect spherical shape, uniform composition, absence of impurities, as if they were manufactured, not formed naturally. Analysis revealed another oddity. Inside some spheres were cavities, empty spheres, hollow inside. Natural processes don't create such structures. This requires technology. Someone, or something, 400,000 years ago was producing metallic microspheres, and they settled on Antarctica. Either these are catastrophe remnants, an explosion, or this was intentional dispersal. Information about this discovery was published in one obscure scientific journal. Nothing more was said about it. Samples stored in Soviet laboratories disappeared after the USSR's collapse. Data copies are unavailable. The only proof this discovery existed? Several articles and expedition participants' recollections. But this isn't the only anomaly in the ice. In the 1990s, American drilling teams working in West Antarctica hit an ice layer containing high concentration of isotopes characteristic of nuclear decay, specifically cesium-137 and strontium-90. These isotopes don't occur in nature. They're produced only in nuclear reactions. Official explanation? Traces of nuclear tests from the 1950s and 60s. Radioactive particles rose into the atmosphere, spread worldwide, settled at the poles with snow. Logical. But there's a problem. The ice layer containing these isotopes dates to approximately 12,000 years ago, long before any human nuclear tests. How could artificially originated radioactive isotopes get into ice 12,000 years ago? There are only two possibilities. Either the dating is wrong, unlikely given use of several independent methods, or 12,000 years ago an event occurred causing nuclear reaction, natural or artificial. Natural nuclear reaction is theoretically possible under certain geological conditions, but such conditions don't exist in Antarctica. Artificial means someone used nuclear weapons or reactors 12,000 years ago. And this event was so massive that radioactive fallout reached the poles. 12,000 years ago. Time of the last ice age's end. Time of the Younger Dryas, sudden global cooling. Time of megafauna mass extinction. Time when, according to many myths, the Great Flood occurred. Coincidence? Let's dig even deeper, because the story gets truly strange. In 2017, a group of glaciologists from New Zealand conducted ice core research from the Transantarctic Mountains region. Routine work: take samples, date, analyze content. But at 3 kilometers depth, in a layer aged around 15,000 years, they discovered something that shouldn't be there. Pollen. Pollen itself isn't anomalous. It's carried by wind for thousands of kilometers, settles everywhere, including polar regions. But this pollen was special. It belonged to a plant that doesn't exist in the modern world. Genetic analysis showed this was a species close to modern tropical palms, but with unique characteristics. A plant that could only grow in warm, humid climate. And it grew in Antarctica 15,000 years ago. Officially, Antarctica by that time was already ice-covered for millions of years. How could tropical plants grow there? Scientists proposed an explanation. Pollen was carried from afar, from other continents where climate was warm. But pollen concentration was too high for transport over thousands of kilometers. This indicated a local source. Plants grew here, in Antarctica. So, 15,000 years ago, at least in some continent regions, climate was tropical. But how is this possible? Antarctica sits at the South Pole. Even if average planetary temperature were higher, polar regions would still receive little sunlight. In winter, there's 6 months of polar night. Tropical plants can't survive such conditions unless the continent was in a different location. The theory of crustal displacement, proposed by Professor Charles Hapgood in the 1950s, suggests the entire planetary crust can periodically shift relative to internal layers, like orange peels sliding over the flesh. Such a shift could move Antarctica from a temperate zone to the pole quickly, within several thousand years, or even faster. The theory is considered controversial. Most geologists reject it, claiming the mechanism for such displacement is unknown and evidence insufficient. But Albert Einstein, having studied Hapgood's work, wrote a foreword to his book stating the hypothesis deserves serious consideration. Einstein suggested that ice accumulation at the poles could create imbalance sufficient to trigger crustal shift. If this is true, if Antarctica really shifted to the pole relatively recently, it explains much. Tropical pollen, frozen trees, maps showing the continent without ice. And it means that 12 to 15,000 years ago, a civilization could have existed there. A civilization that was buried under ice when the continent shifted. There's circumstantial evidence. Worldwide, in geological layers dating approximately 12,000 years ago, a layer called black mat is discovered. A thin stratum of charred organic material, ash, coal. Signs of global fire. What could cause a fire engulfing the entire world? One theory, a comet. A cosmic object several kilometers in diameter, exploding in the atmosphere or striking the ice sheet. Shockwave, firestorm, massive ice melting, ocean level rise. This explains the sudden cooling of the younger Dryas, megafauna extinction, flood legends. And if the main impact hit Antarctica or near it, this could have triggered crustal displacement. Imagine an advanced civilization living on a continent with temperate climate. They build cities, develop technologies, perhaps even reach a level comparable to ours. And then, catastrophe. Comet, impact of unimaginable force. Firestorm destroys everything on the surface. Tectonic instability. The continent begins shifting toward the pole. Temperature drops, snow accumulates. Within several millennia, the entire continent is buried under kilometers of ice. Survivors, if any, they fled on ships in haste with minimum resources. They reached other continents, brought knowledge, technologies, memories with them. And these memories became legends. Atlantis, Lemuria, Mu. All descriptions of lost continents, advanced civilizations vanished under water or ice. Plato described Atlantis as an island beyond the Pillars of Hercules, larger than Libya and Asia combined. Antarctica is larger, and if previously it was located further north, it would be beyond the southern extremity of the world known to the ancients, beyond the Pillars. Plato said Atlantis was destroyed by cataclysm in one night, comet impact. Plato described an advanced civilization with forward technologies that ruled other lands, perhaps colonies on other continents, then vanishing. But this is still theory. Where's physical proof? Where are city ruins, artifacts, indisputable evidence of ancient civilization under Antarctic ice? The problem is we can't get there. Ice several kilometers thick. Temperature that kills an unprotected person within minutes. Conditions where ordinary equipment fails. Drilling a borehole to such depth requires months of work, millions of dollars. And even then, you get access to only a tiny point. Mapping an entire continent is impossible with current technologies. Or is it? Ground-penetrating radars can see through ice. NASA and Roscosmos conducted imaging. Data exists, but most of this data is classified. Why? If there's nothing there, why secrecy? Scientific data should be open. If they're hiding information, it means there's something there they don't want us to know. There are leaks. In 2016, an unknown source posted online a set of radar images allegedly obtained during one Antarctic imaging operation. Images showed structures beneath ice in the Queen Maud Land region. Rectangular objects arranged in geometric order, pyramidal shapes. Something resembling a wide road or canal stretching dozens of kilometers. Image authenticity is unconfirmed. Official sources deny their existence. But experts who analyzed file metadata claim the images match data format used by NASA. If this is a fake, it's very high quality. And if not, this is proof of artificial structures beneath Antarctic ice. In 2020, another event occurred that remained almost unnoticed. An international team of seismologists installed a sensor network across Antarctica to study the continent's structure. Seismic waves passing through rock allow building three-dimensional models of the interior. After a year of work, the team published preliminary results. But one team member, a Norwegian geophysicist, shortly after publication, gave an interview to a local newspaper in which he said something strange. He mentioned the team discovered anomalies inconsistent with natural geological structures. Asked for details, He replied he couldn't comment as data was under review, and part of the information was classified at the request of one of the project's participating governments. Which government? He didn't specify. A week later, he retracted his words, stating he'd been misunderstood. He gave no more interviews. What anomaly? Why is information classified? And why did the scientist retract his words? Pressure? Threats? Or simply realization he'd said too much? This is unsurprising. Isolation for millions of years can lead to evolution of unique life forms. But some of the discovered organisms showed strange characteristics. Ability to survive at extreme temperatures, pressures, in absence of light and oxygen. Some used biochemical processes not found in other organisms. One bacterium, temporarily designated Organism 46b, attracted special attention. According to leaks from Russian laboratories, this organism possessed unusual ability for rapid adaptation. Placed in various environments, it changed its structure and metabolism within hours, not generations. This contradicts all known mechanisms of evolution. Moreover, there were reports the organism demonstrated signs of complex behavior. One researcher described it as almost intelligent. The organism could solve simple tasks, responded to stimuli in ways indicating information processing. For a single-celled being, this is impossible. Either this was a multicellular organism, much more complex than bacteria, or a single-celled organism with complexity level we don't understand. All samples of organism 46b were transferred to a specialized laboratory in Russia. Further information is unavailable. Articles about the discovery weren't published. Requests from the international scientific community are ignored. What happened to this organism? Why was research terminated? There's a theory that organism 46b wasn't natural, that it was created artificially, possibly millions of years ago, as part of an experiment or biological weapon. That Lake Vostok wasn't a natural water body, but a repository, sealed under ice to isolate dangerous organisms. And when we drilled the borehole, we opened what should have remained closed. Sounds like a science fiction plot, but remember the facts. Magnetic anomaly in Lake Vostok. Rectangular lake shape. Unusual organisms with impossible characteristics. Research classification. All this points to something beyond ordinary science. Now imagine another possibility. What if Lake Vostok isn't natural? What if it's an artificial reservoir created by ancient civilization? A storage place for something important? Biological samples, genetic materials, perhaps even a seed and organism bank for ecosystem restoration after catastrophe. The magnetic anomaly would then be a technological device, a field generator to protect the lake's contents from external influences. Heat, maintaining water in liquid state, would be the result of this device's operation. And organisms inside were created or modified to perform specific functions. If this is so, then by drilling the borehole, we activated the system. Organisms sleeping for millions of years awakened. The device, operating in automatic mode, detected intrusion. What did it do? Send a signal? Release defense mechanisms? And what happened to the scientists who reached the target in that classified 2006 expedition? This is, of course, speculation, but it's based on real facts, real anomalies, real information classification. And the more we dig, the more oddities surface. In 2017, American researchers studying subglacial geology of West Antarctica made a strange discovery. Seismic data showed presence of a large cavity beneath Thwaites Glacier, cavity the size of 2/3 of Manhattan, about 300 meters high. But this wasn't just emptiness. Inside the cavity was water. Warm water. Temperature about 4 degrees Celsius. Where's the heat from? Researchers suggested geothermal activity, but seismic data showed no signs of volcanism. Heat emanated from a specific point in the cavity's center, a point that, on radar images, looked like a large metallic object. The team requested permission for an expedition for detailed study. Permission was denied. Reason: area too dangerous for research due to glacier instability. But Thwaites Glacier has been studied for decades. Teams worked there regularly. Why suddenly dangerous? One research group member, who refused to give his name, told journalists, "The day before permission denial, military intelligence representatives arrived at the team. They confiscated all cavity data, took non-disclosure agreements, warned of consequences of public statements." Officially, the meeting never happened, but several team members confirmed this information independently of each other. What's under Thwaites Glacier? Why did military intelligence become interested in geological data? And what is this metallic object emitting heat? Several possibilities. It could be a crashed object, aircraft, satellite, but dimensions don't match. Radar data shows an object about 200 meters in diameter, too large for aircraft or satellite. And it's located deep beneath a glacier that formed thousands of years ago. The object was there before glaciation. A meteorite, possibly. But meteorites don't emit heat millions of years after impact. They cool. But this object is active, producing energy, functioning. If it's not a natural phenomenon and not a modern object, only one thing remains. It's an ancient device, a relic of civilization existing before glaciation, still working, executing a program laid down tens of thousands of years ago. What program? Terraforming, maintaining life-suitable conditions in the cavity, transmitting signals, or something else we can't even imagine. Military intelligence knows, otherwise why would they intervene? They're studying the object, trying to understand the technology, possibly extract it for their own purposes. And all this in secret from the public, from the scientific community, from the entire world. Antarctica isn't just a frozen desert. It's a repository of secrets. Each new research layer opens new anomalies, new questions. And each time we approach answers, someone closes the door, classifies data, silences witnesses. Why? What are they afraid to reveal? What will change if the world learns the truth about what lies beneath Antarctic ice? Let's look at another aspect rarely discussed: the Antarctic Treaty. A document signed in 1959 by 12 countries, including USA, USSR, Great Britain, France. Now its participants number 54 states. The treaty prohibits military activity, nuclear testing, radioactive waste disposal on the continent. Sounds noble. Protecting the last untouched territory on the planet. But there are strange details. The treaty was signed at the Cold War's height. USSR and USA were in a state of global confrontation, didn't trust each other in anything. Arms race, space race, espionage, hostility on all fronts. And suddenly, both superpowers agree to demilitarize an entire continent. Why? Official explanation: conflict prevention, preserving Antarctica for scientific research. But the continent held no strategic value. It's far from all military theaters. Climate makes it unsuitable for bases. Why was a treaty needed? One theory: both sides discovered something in Antarctica so important or dangerous that coordination was required. Something that couldn't be entrusted to one side. Something requiring international control and secrecy. The treaty contains a curious article. Article 4 freezes all territorial claims. 7 countries claimed rights to continent parts before treaty signing. The article neither recognizes nor denies these claims, simply postpones the question indefinitely. Why? Because beneath the surface lies something that cannot be appropriated by any nation. Something belonging to all humanity, or no one. The treaty also strictly regulates access. Scientific expeditions require permits. Certain zones are closed to visitation without special approval. Inspections can be conducted anytime. Any activity must be declared and approved. This isn't just nature protection. This is control. Strict, comprehensive control over who can go where and what they can do. And here's what's interesting. Since treaty signing, several Antarctica regions were declared specially protected zones, access restricted even for scientists. Official reason? Protecting unique ecosystems or geological formations. But some of these zones are in the continent's center, under kilometers of ice, where there are no ecosystems. What are they protecting? One such zone is in the Wilkes Land area, the same region with thermal anomaly and vanished expedition. Coincidence? After the 2006 incident, the zone was expanded. Now, access is prohibited within 200 kilometers radius of the central point. Why such a large area? What could require such extensive protection? Another protected zone is located in the Prince Charles Mountains region, a little explored, hard-to-access region. In the 1980s, an Australian expedition discovered strange formations there, rock outcrops of unusual shape that in photographs looked like steps, terraces, walls. Natural erosion, according to geologists. But some expedition members insisted formations were too regular for natural origin. The expedition requested permission for a return visit for detailed study. Permission wasn't granted. The region was declared a protected zone. Argument: presence of rare lichen species. Lichens that grow throughout Antarctica. Why did this particular region become special? Photographs taken by the expedition were removed from public archives, officially due to poor quality and scientific inaccuracy. But several copies survived, and they indeed show structures difficult to explain by erosion. Straight lines, angles, symmetry. If this were any other continent, these formations would be studied in detail. Archaeologists, geologists, entire teams. But this is Antarctica, and access is closed. Why? Because if these formations prove artificial, it overturns everything. It means structures existed in Antarctica, built before glaciation, by someone who possessed construction technologies, someone we know nothing about. Let's consider the possibility for a moment. What if beneath Antarctic ice lies not just several scattered structures, but an entire city, or even several cities? A network of settlements connected by roads, tunnels, communication systems. Radar data hints at this. Lines stretching hundreds of kilometers beneath the surface, too straight for rivers, too regular for geological faults. They connect points where structures, anomalies, cavities were discovered. If these are roads, then civilization's scale was enormous, a continent the size of Europe. If it was inhabited, millions could have lived there, perhaps tens of millions. A civilization comparable to the Roman Empire, or even larger. And then it was erased, buried under ice, forgotten, but not completely forgotten. Legends remember. Atlantis. Plato described it as a continent, not an island. Translations may be imprecise. He spoke of a mighty civilization controlling many lands, of cataclysm destroying it in a day and night, that it went underwater. But Antarctica didn't go underwater. It went under ice. The result is the same: burial, inaccessibility, disappearance from memory. For ancient observers, the difference between water and ice could be insubstantial. Both elements are cold, both cover land, both make it uninhabitable. There's another legend, less known: Hyperborea. Ancient Greek texts describe it as land at the world's edge beyond the north wind, a place of eternal sun where perfect people live, possessing great knowledge. But some researchers believe the description could refer not to north, but to south. The ancients could confuse directions, especially regarding places beyond the known world. Hyperborea was described as an island or continent surrounded by the great ocean. Climate mild, nature abundant. Inhabitants knew no wars, diseases, old age. They possessed flight technologies, could move between worlds. Very similar to description of advanced civilization with forward technologies. And then Hyperborea vanished. By some versions, it was destroyed by gods for hubris. By others, ice consumed it. Remaining Hyperboreans scattered across the world, founded new civilizations, transmitted knowledge. Egypt, Sumer, India. All great ancient cultures, according to these legends, were founded by Hyperborean descendants. Of course, this is mythology, but myths often contain grains of truth, distorted by time, embellished, but based on real events. If civilization in Antarctica really existed and was destroyed by cataclysm, survivors would flee. They carried knowledge, technologies, culture with them. They founded new settlements in other places, and suddenly, approximately 12,000 years ago worldwide, civilization signs simultaneously begin emerging. Mesopotamia, Egypt, Indus Valley, China, Peru. The Neolithic Revolution. Sudden transition from hunter-gatherers to settled farmers. Appearance of cities, writing, complex social structures. Official science explains this as parallel evolution. Similar conditions led to similar solutions. But the probability that independently of each other in isolated regions, people simultaneously invented agriculture, metallurgy, writing, is extremely small. Far more likely was knowledge dissemination. Teachers who came from one place and taught others. Sumerian texts directly speak of this. The Anunnaki, those who descended from heaven, brought knowledge. Egyptian texts speak of Neteru, divine beings who ruled before pharaohs and founded civilization. Indian Vedas describe devas, celestial teachers. All descriptions are similar. Beings with advanced knowledge, arriving from outside, teaching humans. What if these weren't gods or aliens? What if these were people? People from an advanced civilization that was destroyed. Refugees from Antarctica scattered across the world. To primitive tribes, they would seem like gods. Their technologies magic. Their knowledge, divine revelation. This explains civilization emergence synchronicity. This explains architectural style similarity. Pyramids in Egypt, Mexico, Peru, China. This explains global flood myths, golden age myths, the fall. All this is memory, distorted, but memory. And Antarctica holds the proof. Beneath kilometers of ice lie ruins, cities, temples, libraries, artifacts that will show who they were, how they lived, what they knew. Technologies we could study, possibly even reproduce. But we can't get there, or we're not allowed. Because if this knowledge comes out, it changes everything. Energy. Imagine technologies capable of producing energy without burning fossil fuels, without nuclear reactions. Clean, abundant, accessible energy. Oil companies would lose trillions. Geopolitical power balance would collapse. Medicine. If ancient civilization reached high development level, they could have solved problems we're currently battling. Cancer, aging, genetic diseases. Knowledge that could save millions of lives, but also knowledge threatening the pharmaceutical industry, healthcare economy. History. If it's proven that advanced civilization existed tens of thousands of years ago, this destroys academic careers, rewrites textbooks, forces reconsideration of fundamental assumptions. Religions will face questions with no easy answers. Society will experience shock. Control. Those who currently possess power, wealth, political influence, military strength, base it on the current order of things. Radical paradigm shift threatens this order, so they do everything to preserve the status quo. Classify information, discredit researchers asking uncomfortable questions, control access to Antarctica. But truth is beginning to seep through. Too many anomalies, too many witnesses, too much data that doesn't fit the official version. And with technology development, hiding becomes increasingly difficult. High-resolution satellite images are publicly available. Anyone can access Google Earth, study Antarctica. And people find strange things. Objects that look artificial. Lines, structures, formations. In 2021, a YouTube user discovered, on a satellite image, something resembling a cave or tunnel entrance. A perfectly circular opening in rock, about 30 meters diameter. Around it, no signs of natural erosion, just a smooth circle leading inward. Coordinates were published. Thousands of people checked. The opening is there. Google updated images of this region several months later. In new images, the opening is blurred, officially due to cloud cover or imaging problems. But weather in Antarctica doesn't change that quickly. And why is only this specific place blurred while everything around is clear? Censorship. An attempt to hide what was discovered. If there's nothing there, why edit the image? It would be simpler to leave as is and explain it's a natural phenomenon. But instead, information is hidden, which suggests there really is something there that shouldn't be visible. Similar cases have occurred repeatedly. Objects visible on old images disappear in new ones, become blurred, or coordinates stop working, giving errors. Someone is actively curating what we can see in Antarctica. What about expeditions? Tourist trips to Antarctica exist. Cruises, research station visits, short hikes. But routes are strictly controlled. Tourists can visit only certain zones, mostly coastal. Access to the continent's interior is closed. Several enthusiasts tried organizing independent expeditions. One millionaire, fascinated by ancient civilization theories, financed an attempt to reach one of the supposed structures in central Antarctica. The team was assembled, equipment purchased, plans made. Permission was denied. Argument. Insufficient preparation, danger to participants' lives. The team appealed, providing proof of experience and qualifications. Denied again. They attempted to depart without permission, were stopped en route by a military vessel, turned back. Threats of criminal prosecution for violating the Antarctic Treaty. Why such harshness? If there's nothing there, let them go. They'll freeze, return, convince themselves theories were false, problem solved. But instead, active opposition, which indicates presence of something that must remain hidden. There are people who worked in Antarctica, scientists, engineers, military personnel. Most sign non-disclosure agreements, but some break silence. Anonymously through forums, blogs. One former engineer who worked at McMurdo American Station told of a secret operation he participated in. In winter, when most personnel evacuate, a small group remains, officially to maintain the station, but his task was servicing equipment not located at the station. They were flown by helicopters to remote regions. One place was an underground facility. Entrance camouflaged, looked like natural rock formation. Inside, tunnels, rooms, equipment. Modern equipment, but installed in structures clearly ancient. Stone walls, smooth as if polished. Carvings, symbols he didn't recognize. His task was maintaining generators, heating systems, lighting. He didn't know what was being studied there. He wasn't allowed in most rooms. But once he saw an artifact being carried out. An object resembling a crystal, football-sized, emitting faint glow. It was packed in a special container and taken away by helicopter. He told of this only years after dismissal. He has no proof, only memories. But his description matches accounts of other people who worked in Antarctica at different times. Underground facilities, ancient architecture, artifacts with unusual properties. If these testimonies are true, it means there's a secret program, researching ancient structures, extracting artifacts, studying technologies, all bypassing publicity, outside international community control. Who manages this program? One country? Alliance of several? Private corporations? Military? And what have they found? What technologies have they extracted? Are they being used? Perhaps some modern achievements that seem like breakthroughs are actually based on knowledge obtained from Antarctica. In the 1990s, there was a sharp jump in certain technology areas: materials science, nanotechnology, quantum computing. Officially, this is research accumulation result, natural progress. But the speed was unusual, as if someone received hints. There's another aspect almost never discussed: seismic activity. Antarctica is considered a geologically stable continent. No active volcanoes, no major faults, no earthquakes. But this isn't entirely true. Seismic stations located across the continent regularly detect strange signals. Not earthquakes in the classic sense, but vibrations. Low-frequency oscillations emanating from the continent's depths. The pattern repeats. Activity surge, then silence, then surge again. Cycles lasting from several hours to several days. Natural phenomenon. Scientists supposed ice movement, glacier shifts, melting in subglacial lakes. But frequencies don't match. Ice movement creates high-frequency signals, creaking, cracking. These signals are low, deep, almost infrasonic, and they emanate not from the surface, but from depth, from the crust, or even mantle. In 2019, an international seismic station network detected a particularly powerful signal. Duration about 6 hours. Intensity sufficient to be registered worldwide. But this wasn't an earthquake. No surface waves, no destruction, only deep vibration. The epicenter was in the Lake Vostok region, the same zone with magnetic anomaly. Coincidence? Seismologists tried explaining the phenomenon, proposed a theory about magma shift in the mantle beneath the continent, but Antarctica isn't on a tectonic plate boundary. There shouldn't be such activity. Imagine a network of such devices distributed across the entire continent. They exchange signals, coordinate actions, execute a program laid down millennia ago. What program? Restoration? Terraforming? Waiting? Waiting for what? Creator return? Or certain conditions? Perhaps the device activates when the planet reaches a certain state. Temperature, atmospheric composition, surface civilization technological development level. And now we've reached this threshold. Devices awaken, begin working. Sounds like science fiction, but let's look at facts. Real seismic signals, real magnetic anomalies, real heat sources. All this exists. The question is only interpretation, natural or artificial phenomenon. And if artificial, who created it and why? Antarctica also hides another mystery: neutrinos. These elementary particles permeate the universe, pass through matter with almost no interaction. Billions of neutrinos pass through your body every second. You don't feel them. They're invisible. But sometimes neutrinos interact. Rarely, but it happens. And when it happens, it can be detected. Special detectors were built for this. One of the largest is in Antarctica. Ice cube. A cubic kilometer of ice equipped with thousands of sensors. They catch light flashes arising from neutrino interaction with water molecules. IceCube was built to study cosmic neutrinos, particles arriving from distant galaxies, black holes, supernovae. And most registered events are indeed cosmic. But there are anomalies. In 2016, the detector registered a series of events emanating not from space, but from inside Earth. Neutrinos moving bottom to top. This itself isn't strange. Neutrinos can pass through the entire planet, but intensity and frequency were unusual. Activity surge lasting several days, then silence. The source was beneath Antarctica. Precise location impossible to determine due to neutrino nature, but approximately in the Wilkes Land area. Again, this zone. Magnetic anomaly, heat source, seismic signals, now neutrinos too. What could produce such neutrino flow? Natural sources are nuclear reactions, radioactive element decay in Earth's crust. But intensity was an order of magnitude above natural background. This indicates a concentrated source. Reactor, device using nuclear processes. IceCube scientists published data in a specialized journal, noted the anomaly, but offered no explanation. Simply stated the fact. Nothing more said about it. Why? Because explanation requires acknowledging existence of something unusual beneath the continent, something producing neutrinos, something active. If we connect all the dots, magnetic anomalies, heat sources, seismic signals, neutrinos, radar structures, artifacts in subglacial lakes, the picture begins clarifying. Beneath Antarctica lies something complex. Not just scattered objects, but a system. A network of devices or structures that function, interact, perform tasks. This system is ancient. It was created before continent glaciation. But it's still working. Automatically, according to a laid program, or someone controls it. Someone located there, under ice, in underground facilities. Surviving or awakened. There are accounts, difficult to verify, of encounters. People working at Antarctic stations sometimes report strange phenomena. Lights in the sky unlike aurora. Sounds emanating from ice. Deep hums causing vibrations in buildings. Tracks in snow that appear overnight, leading nowhere, disappearing into crevasses. One such case occurred at Norwegian station Troll in 2015. Winter crew heard sounds for several consecutive nights, knocking on station walls, rhythmic, as if someone knocking outside. They checked. Nobody. Wind was weak. No explanations. On the third night, one of them decided to go out, look. Others tried stopping him. Going out at night in Antarctic winter is dangerous. Temperature -50, visibility 0. But he insisted, wanted to know what was happening. He went out with flashlight, radio. Others watched him through the window. He moved about 20 meters from the station, stopped, directed flashlight into distance. And then they saw it. A figure, tall, about 2.5 meters, stood motionless about 10 meters from him. In flashlight light, it was visible that it wasn't in ordinary clothing. Something form-fitting, dark. The man stood several seconds. Then the figure moved, not walked, but glided, fast, approached him. He backed away, shouted something into radio. Communication cut off. Flashlight went out. Darkness. Others ran to the door, wanted to go out, help, but the door wouldn't open. Mechanism jammed. They struggled for several minutes, finally broke through. Went out. Nobody. Neither the man nor the figure. Only tracks. His tracks leading from the station, and other tracks. Deep, wide, unlike human. They ran parallel, intersected, then vanished. Simply ended several meters away, as if the being disappeared into air. The man was found morning, 500 meters from the station. Alive, but in shock. Couldn't speak, just sat, rocked, stared into nowhere. He was evacuated to hospital. He came to himself, but refused to tell what happened. Only repeated, "They're here. They've always been here." Official report: psychosis caused by isolation and polar winter darkness. Diagnosis: temporary disorder. Treatment: return home. Case closed. But the other winter crew know. They saw. They know something was there. Similar stories are numerous. Most remain within the polar community, aren't published, aren't discussed openly. Because if you tell, you're considered insane. Career over, reputation destroyed. So they stay silent, but whisper, passing from one to another. What was it? Hallucinations? Possible. Antarctica's conditions are extreme. Darkness, cold, isolation. Brain can create images. But everyone hallucinates identically. See tall figures, hear knocking, find strange tracks. Or there really is someone there. Beings inhabiting beneath the ice. Perhaps remnants of ancient civilization, adapted to life in underground cavities. Perhaps something else, non-human. Automatons, robots left for guarding or observation. Indigenous people legends from southern continents closest to Antarctica contain mentions of ice people. Beings coming from the south, tall, pale, speaking strange language. They appeared rarely, traded, took supplies, then vanished. Maori in New Zealand, South American tribes in Patagonia, South Australia Aborigines all have similar legends. Most anthropologists consider this mythology. But what if it's memory? Memory of contacts with someone who really came from the South, from Antarctica when it was still habitable, or even after glaciation if survivors remained in underground chambers. Genetic research shows a strange detail. Some indigenous peoples of southern regions have DNA markers found nowhere else. Not European, not Asian, not African. Unique. They're called ghost lineages. Where are they from? Interbreeding with unknown population, a population that disappeared, leaving no other traces. What if this population was from Antarctica? People who lived there before cataclysm, partially mixed with peoples of other continents, then vanished. Their genetic heritage remained, diluted but present. Proof of contact. Let's consider another aspect: climate change. Antarctica is melting, slowly but steadily. Ice sheet is losing mass, glaciers retreating, ocean level rising. This is known. But there's a side effect little discussed. As ice melts, land areas are exposed that were hidden for millennia. Mountain ranges, valleys, coastlines. And on these areas, things are being found. Rocks with carvings, stones processed clearly unnaturally. Artifacts. In 2020, a Chilean expedition discovered on the Antarctic Peninsula a stone slab with engraved symbols. The slab was partially exposed by retreating glacier, size about 2 meters long, 1 meter wide. Symbols unlike any known alphabet, geometric figures, lines, dots. They photographed the slab, took rock samples for dating, then intended to return with a larger expedition for detailed study. But when they returned a year later, the slab was gone. The glacier had retreated even more. The place was exactly the same, coordinates verified, but no slab. Someone took it between expeditions in a region where almost nobody goes. Remote, hard to access. Who and why? Officially unknown, but it shows someone is actively monitoring what's being exposed in Antarctica. And when something important is found, it's quickly removed before the wide public knows. Photographs of the slab were published by the Chilean team in a scientific article. Linguists and archaeologists attempted interpreting the symbols. No consensus reached. Some saw similarity with Proto-Sumerian signs, others with Indus Valley civilization symbols. A third group claimed it's a unique writing system. One independent researcher suggested the symbols aren't writing, but a map. Geometric figures represent landscapes, lines are paths, dots are locations of something. If interpreted this way, the map points to several locations in central Antarctica, locations coinciding with known anomalies. Wilkes Land, Lake Vostok, Transantarctic Mountains. If this is a map, who created it? For what purpose? A pointer for descendants or for someone who will return? Here are the repositories. Here lies knowledge. Find them. Ice melting is accelerating. By current projections, significant Antarctica parts will be exposed within the next 50 to 100 years. What will be found then? Entire cities, libraries, technological devices. Governments know this. They're preparing. Strengthening continent control, expanding military presence under the guise of scientific bases, agreements on dividing future finds. All this happens behind closed doors, far from public attention. But leaks happen. In 2018, WikiLeaks published a document allegedly from US State Department, a memorandum discussing strategic interests in Antarctica in light of possible archaeological discoveries. The document spoke of necessity to to ensure control over key zones and prevent unauthorized access to sensitive finds. Document authenticity not officially confirmed, but language, format, details match real government documents. And if it's real, it means at the highest level they're discussing how to control what will be found in Antarctica. Not study, not share with the world. Control. Because knowledge is power. Technologies discovered there could give incredible advantage. The country or group gaining access first could dominate. New energy sources, materials, medicine, weapons. All this may lie under ice, waiting. And perhaps not only countries are interested. Private corporations, billionaires, secret organizations. Rumors of secret expeditions exist. Groups privately funded, departing to Antarctica without official permission, using legal loopholes, bribery, connections. One such case allegedly occurred in 2017. A group funded by an unnamed Silicon Valley billionaire organized an expedition. Goal? Explore a subglacial cavity in West Antarctica. They used a private vessel, autonomous equipment, avoided contact with official stations. They reached the location, drilled a borehole, lowered an underwater drone. The drone transmitted video, and in the video were structures. Walls, corridors, chambers. Clearly artificial. The team was ecstatic. They found proof. But then, drone communication cut off. It simply stopped transmitting. Attempts to restore contact yielded no result. Then, on the horizon, appeared a military ship. They were intercepted, searched, all data confiscated. Officially for violating the Antarctic Treaty. Expedition terminated. Participants expelled. Video was confiscated, but one team member managed to copy several frames to a personal device. Later, he posted them online. Quality poor, compression heavy, but visible. A stone wall, smooth, with protrusions resembling doorways. Unnatural formation. Images quickly spread, but then were deleted. Accounts blocked. The person who posted them disappeared from radar, no longer made contact. Image copies remained on some forums, but their authenticity is disputed. Skeptics speak of Photoshop, but the pattern is the same. Find, publication, classification, disappearance. Again and again. Too many coincidences. There's another layer to this story rarely covered: Antarctica's connection to other planetary mysteries. Because the continent doesn't exist in a vacuum, if an advanced civilization really existed there, it should have interacted with the rest of the world, left traces not only under ice, but elsewhere. And such traces exist. Let's start with the ocean. The Southern Ocean, surrounding Antarctica, is one of Earth's least explored regions. Depths reach 7,000 meters. Currents strong, unpredictable. Icebergs drift, creating ship danger. Most vessels avoid these waters. But sometimes, finds occur. In 2014, a fishing vessel working off South Georgia coast hauled in nets with a strange object. Metallic, covered with marine organism growths. The captain decided it was part of a sunken ship, but the shape was unusual. Smooth, streamlined, with protrusions resembling fins or wings. The object was too heavy to fully lift aboard. They photographed it, marked coordinates, released it. Photographs showed something resembling a torpedo or underwater craft, but design didn't match any known type. Too large, about 10 meters long, and material looked unlike steel or aluminum. Black, matte, No corrosion signs, despite clearly being underwater for decades, possibly centuries. When photographs reached specialists, suggestions were made. Experimental Cold War submarine, lost prototype during testing. But archive searches yielded no results. Neither USSR nor USA, nor other countries lost submarines in that area. And design didn't match mid-20th century technologies. Attempts to organize an expedition to raise the object weren't successful. Funding wasn't found. Coordinates were transmitted to several scientific institutes, but interest was minimal. Officially, the object was classified as a possible geological artifact, and the case closed. But this isn't the only underwater anomaly in the region. Ship sonars passing through the Southern Ocean regularly detect strange echoes. Objects on the seabed having regular geometric shapes, pyramids, cubes, cylinders. Most are attributed to equipment errors or data misinterpretation. But when the same shapes appear on different ship scans at different times, it raises thought. One such structure was discovered in 2013 at about 5,000 meters depth, approximately 1,000 kilometers north of Antarctica. Sonar showed a pyramidal object about 300 meters high, base approximately 400 by 400 meters. Perfect four-sided pyramid. At such depths, natural processes don't create such forms. Data were transmitted to an oceanographic institute. Analysis confirmed the object is real, not sonar artifact. But further research wasn't conducted. Reason? Insufficient scientific value to allocate resources for deep-sea expedition. Simply put, they don't want to know, or already know. Perhaps military submarines regularly patrolling the Southern Ocean long ago discovered these structures, studied, documented, classified them. For the public, information is unavailable, but within military and intelligence circles, it's known. If these underwater structures are connected to Antarctica, it means civilization there wasn't isolated. They built not only on the continent, but underwater. Perhaps underwater cities, bases, ports. Technology allowing living and working on the ocean floor. This explains the mystery. If Antarctica began freezing, why didn't everyone just relocate? Why did civilization perish rather than adapt? Answer: they adapted. Partially moved underwater into underwater facilities where climate didn't matter. And perhaps their descendants are still there, living in ocean depths, invisible, unknown. This explains UFOs, more precisely USOs, unidentified submerged objects. Thousands of reports from sailors, fishermen, military personnel. Objects moving underwater at incredible speeds, performing maneuvers impossible for modern submarines, emerging from water and flying into sky. In 2019, a U.S. Navy destroyer detected an entire flotilla of such objects off the California coast. About 100 objects moving in formation at speeds exceeding 60 knots underwater. Then they simultaneously rose above the surface and flew away. The event was recorded by radars, infrared cameras, visually confirmed by the crew. Data classified, but leaks reached the press. Where are these objects from? If not from space, then from where? From the ocean? From bases on the seabed? And if these bases are connected to Antarctica's ancient civilization, then USOs are their technologies. Technologies we haven't come close to mastering. Underwater aerial craft capable of transitioning between environments without losing speed or maneuverability. Physics says this is impossible. Water is 1,000 times denser than air. Resistance is enormous. Any object moving fast underwater creates cavitation, vapor bubbles that limit speed. Modern torpedoes use supercavitation, creating a bubble around themselves to move faster. But even so, maximum speed is about 200 knots, and it's unstable. USOs move faster and without cavitation signs, as if they alter water properties around themselves or use physics principles we don't understand. Anti-gravity, space-time manipulation. Sounds fantastic, but if ancient civilization reached such a level, for them this could be mundane. Now let's look at another connection: pyramids. We already mentioned the underwater pyramid in the Southern Ocean, but there are reports of pyramids directly in Antarctica, on land, protruding from ice. In 2016, a group of climbers ascending one of the Ellsworth mountain range peaks photographed a strange formation: a pyramid. Perfectly regular four-sided structure about 100 meters high, partially snow-covered, but clearly not natural. Angles too sharp, faces too even. Photographs were published online, sparked heated discussion. Skeptics claimed it's just a mountain that acquired pyramidal shape through erosion. This is possible. Natural pyramids exist, for example, Mount Matterhorn in Switzerland. But climbers insisted they saw it up close. The surface wasn't rock, but something else. Smoother, with blocks discernible under snow. Attempts to organize an expedition for detailed study met obstacles. The region was declared dangerous due to glacier instability. Permits weren't issued. The climbers who took photographs received warnings about rule violations. They didn't return to Antarctica again. But satellite images show that in the same region, there are at least two more similar structures. Pyramids located dozens of kilometers apart from each other. If this is natural formation, why do they all have identical orientation? All faces directed strictly by cardinal directions. Nature doesn't create such patterns. If these are pyramids built by civilization, then why? Burial, like in Egypt, temples, like in Mesoamerica, or functional structures? Beacons, energy devices, astronomical observatories? There's a theory that pyramids worldwide are part of a global network, built by one civilization or several connected by common knowledge. They served specific purposes: energy transmission, communication, navigation. Pyramids in Egypt, Mexico, China, Bosnia, all astronomically oriented, all built with incredible precision, all contain mathematical ratios, pi, golden section, which allegedly weren't known to their builders. If Antarctic pyramids are part of this network, then Antarctica was a central node, or one of key nodes. A coordination center from which the entire system was managed. And when the continent was buried under ice, the network stopped functioning, or went into standby mode. What will happen if the network activates again? If pyramids begin working? We don't even know what they did. But if they were capable of manipulating energy on planetary scale, consequences could be unpredictable. Perhaps someone is already trying to activate them. Secret expeditions studying Antarctic pyramids, experiments with devices found inside, attempts to understand how everything worked, reproduce the technology. There are rumors that one such expedition succeeded. In 2018, allegedly, a system was activated in one of the underground structures. The device started working. Energy pulse was so powerful that seismic stations worldwide detected it. Officially, this was explained as an earthquake, but the epicenter was in Antarctica. Magnitude was unusual. Waveform didn't match tectonic events. That same day, many people worldwide reported strange phenomena: headaches, ringing in ears, vibration sensation. Animals behaved anxiously. Birds gathered in flocks, circled, flew in wrong directions. Dogs barked without reason. This continued for several hours, then stopped. Coincidence or activation of an ancient device caused resonance, perceptible globally. Not physically, but at some other level. Energetic, biological, conscious. This explains the secrecy. This explains military presence. This explains why all major powers are so interested in Antarctica, despite it officially having no strategic value. Let's consider another detail often overlooked: flora and fauna. Antarctica is considered almost lifeless, but this isn't entirely true. In subglacial lakes, life was discovered. We already spoke of organism 46b, but there are other finds. In Lake Mercer, isolated under a kilometer of ice for more than 1,000 years, multicellular organisms were discovered. Crustaceans, mollusks. How did they get there? How did they survive without light in extreme conditions? Official explanation? They penetrated from the ocean through subglacial water flows, adapted. But genetic analysis showed these organisms aren't closely related to ocean species. They're unique, evolved in isolation. But in 1,000 years, it's impossible to evolve enough to become a separate species. Millions of years are needed, unless they were there from the beginning. Isolated not 1,000 years, but tens of thousands. Since the times when lakes weren't yet completely under ice, they survived glaciation, adapted, continued existing in dark depths. This means Antarctica's ecosystem is much older and more complex than we think. And if complex organisms survive there, can something even more complex survive? Large creatures, underwater animals inhabiting subglacial seas. There are strange sonar contacts. Submarines conducting research under Antarctic ice shelves sometimes detect large moving objects. Not fish, too large. Not other countries' submarines. Identification unconfirmed. Simply unidentified contacts appear on screens, move, then disappear. One such case occurred with a Russian submarine in 2011. They were working under the Ross ice shelf, conducting seismic research. Sonar detected an object at about 2 kilometers distance, size approximately 30 meters long, shape indeterminate, but clearly not a submarine. Movement organic, smooth. The captain decided to approach. The submarine moved toward the object. The object began moving away. Its speed exceeded the submarine's speed. They pursued for several minutes. Then the object sharply went deeper, disappeared from sonar. They searched but didn't detect it again. What was it? A whale? But whales don't swim under ice shelves. There's no food there, no air. An unknown marine creature species, possibly. But size and speed are unusual, and movement, organicity, excludes a technical object. Or doesn't exclude. What if this was a biomechanical object? A creature created by bioengineering or a cybernetic organism? Combination of living and mechanical. Ancient civilization could create such things. Guardians, workers, explorers programmed to perform tasks, and they're still functioning, patrolling the depths, executing the program. Sounds like fantasy. But the line between biology and technology is blurring. We ourselves are already creating biorobots, using living cells to build machines. The ancients could be centuries ahead. Antarctica holds secrets not only under ice, but also under water, in the air, in rocks, even in the atmosphere. The continent isn't just a piece of frozen earth, it's a time capsule, archive, repository of knowledge, technologies, life. Sealed, awaiting the moment when it will be opened. And that moment is approaching. Climate is changing. Ice is melting. Access is increasing. Technologies are improving. We're becoming capable of penetrating where we couldn't before. The question is whether we're ready for what we'll find. Because discoveries may be not only scientific, they could be dangerous. If ancient civilization was destroyed, perhaps their technologies played a role. Weapons, experiments gone out of control. We may find these things, and if we're not careful, repeat their mistakes. There's also an ethical question. If beneath ice lies a burial site, sanctuaries, memorial places for those who lived there, do we have the right to disturb them? Archaeology always balances on this edge, knowledge versus respect. But in Antarctica, the stakes are higher, because we don't know what's there. Perhaps things that should remain buried. Or, conversely, perhaps a message, a time capsule intentionally left for future generations. We were here. We achieved greatness. We fell. Learn from our mistakes, don't repeat them. Such a message would be invaluable. A lesson from a civilization that walked the path we're only walking. They reached a technological level, possibly exceeding ours, and then something went wrong. What, exactly? War, environmental catastrophe, social collapse, external threat? If we learn, we can avoid it, correct course, choose a different path. This would be the greatest gift the ancients could leave descendants. But the message could also be a warning. Not in the sense, learn from mistakes, but stay away. Perhaps the reason Antarctica access is so controlled isn't only political or economic. Perhaps someone knows there's danger there and is trying to protect humanity from it. Or the opposite. There's another aspect connecting Antarctica to the global picture: Earth's geomagnetic field. It protects us from solar radiation, cosmic rays, makes surface life possible. But this field isn't static. It changes. Poles shift, intensity fluctuates, and there's evidence that in the past, inversions occurred. Magnetic poles completely switched places. The last inversion was about 780,000 years ago. By geological standards, this is recent. And there are signs we're approaching the next one. The magnetic field is weakening. The south magnetic pole is shifting at a rate of about 50 kilometers per year. This is acceleration. Previously, it moved slower. What's interesting, the change epicenter is in the Antarctica region. The south magnetic pole, which geographically doesn't coincide with the geographic South Pole, is now in the ocean north of the continent. But its movement trajectory indicates it's shifting away from Antarctica. Why? Official science explains this by molten iron movement in Earth's core. Convection creates the magnetic field, and changes in these flows shift the poles. Logical. But there's an anomaly. Beneath Antarctica, a zone with abnormally low magnetic field was detected. The South Atlantic anomaly, which extends from the South Atlantic to Antarctica. In this zone, the magnetic field is 30% weaker than average. Satellites passing over it experience malfunctions. Cosmic radiation penetrates deeper into the atmosphere. What causes this anomaly? One theory? unusual mantle structure beneath this region, but seismic data don't show significant deviations. Another theory: residual effect from ancient impact. A large meteorite striking Antarctica could have altered crust and mantle structure, affecting the magnetic field. But there's a third theory, less discussed: artificial influence. What if beneath Antarctica lies a device affecting the magnetic field? A device that worked for millions of years, stabilizing the field, protecting the planet. And now it's breaking down, or being intentionally shut off. Why would anyone need to stabilize the magnetic field? If the planet is inhabited, a strong and stable field is critically important. It protects from radiation, prevents atmosphere loss. Mars lost its magnetic field billions of years ago, and solar wind stripped away its atmosphere. The planet became lifeless. If ancient civilization understood this, they could build a system to maintain or enhance Earth's natural magnetic field. A generator working in synchrony with the planet's core. And Antarctica, being at the pole, was the ideal place for such a device. But then civilization vanished. The device continued working automatically for millions of years. But nothing lasts forever. It's beginning to malfunction. Field weakens, poles shift. We see consequences, but don't understand the cause. If this is true, then comes a moment of critical choice. We can try restoring the device, but for this, we need to understand how it works, find it, gain access. Or we can let it completely break down. Consequences could be catastrophic. Magnetic field inversion doesn't happen instantly, but during the process, the field can weaken to critically low level. Radiation, mutations, electronics destruction, chaos. Perhaps this is why secret programs are so active in Antarctica. They're searching for this device, trying to understand, stabilize. Not for power or wealth, but for survival. Or they've already found it and are trying to activate it, but don't know how properly. Experiments lead to instability. Magnetic field fluctuates. Poles shift chaotically. We observe effects, attribute to natural processes. But the real cause is human action. People interfering with a system they don't understand. There's an even more disturbing possibility. What if the device was shut off intentionally? Not by breakdown, but by command. A program laid by creators. If civilization on the planet reaches a certain level, disable protection. Let them face consequences. Let them prove they're worthy of survival. A test, a maturity exam. If we can understand what's happening, find the device, restore the system, it means we're sufficiently developed. We've earned the right to continue existing. If not, we fail, like predecessors possibly failed. Cynical concept. But the universe isn't obligated to be kind. And if the ancients went through something similar, survived the test or didn't survive, they could leave the same check for the next ones. Let's move to another topic: time. Antarctica exists in a strange temporal context. Physically, the continent is in all time zones simultaneously, because all meridians converge at the pole. Research stations use their country's time zones, or UTC, for coordination. But these are administrative decisions. There are theories that time flows differently in certain planetary places. Anomalous zones, where clocks run faster or slower, where time perception is distorted. Antarctica is mentioned as one such zone. Pilots flying over the continent sometimes report oddities, Navigation equipment malfunctions. GPS shows wrong coordinates or stops working. Onboard clocks diverge from ground time. Difference small, several seconds or minutes, but enough to be noticed. Official explanation: magnetic anomalies interfere with electronics operation. Extreme temperatures affect quartz clock accuracy. All this is possible, but when phenomenon repeats systematically in certain regions, questions arise. One such zone is over Lake Vostok. Pilots avoid flying directly over it, not due to official prohibition, but personal experience. Those who flew described the sensation of losing time. We were over the lake several minutes, but clocks showed half an hour passed, or the opposite. Flight through the zone took an hour, but by sensation, it was minutes. Subjective perception, possibly. Stress, fatigue, flight conditions. But when several independent crews describe similar sensations and instruments confirm anomalies, this demands attention. Theoretically, strong magnetic or gravitational fields can affect time flow. Einstein's general relativity predicts that massive objects, or intense fields, curve spacetime. Effect is usually microscopic, noticeable only in extreme conditions near black holes or neutron stars. But if beneath Antarctica lies a device manipulating fundamental forces, it could create local space-time distortions. Not huge, but sufficient to be measurable. Side effect of its operation, or intentional function. Why would time manipulation be needed? Time travel unlikely, but who knows? More practically, slowing or accelerating processes. Preserving objects in slowed time where they age slower. A storage where biological samples, technologies, even living beings could remain in stasis for millennia. If Lake Vostok really is an artificial repository, temporal anomaly explains how organisms there survived. Not just adaptation to extreme conditions, but existence in a bubble of slowed time. For them, not millions of years passed, but far less. This also explains why the device still functions. Mechanical wear, corrosion, material degradation. All these are time processes. If time is slowed, devices age slower. Millions of years outside could be thousands or even less inside. But if this is true, what consequences for those entering this zone? Expedition reaching the device and entering slowed time zone. For them, hours pass. Outside, days, weeks pass. When they exit, the world has changed. Or the opposite, accelerated time zone. Inside, days pass. Outside, minutes. They age faster than they should. This explains disappearances. Expeditions entering anomalous zones don't return. Not because they died, but because they're stuck in time distortion. For them, hours passed. For the rest of the world, years. When they finally exit, they're considered dead. Case closed, world moved on. Or they die inside because time flows differently. Supplies run out faster than expected. Organism ages acceleratedly. They don't understand what's happening until too late. Sounds like a bad science fiction plot. But if the ancients possessed space-time manipulation technologies, this is reality. And we, stumbling in darkness, enter zones we don't understand, face consequences we can't predict. There's another detail connecting everything together: star maps. In several ancient cultures, there are depictions of the starry sky that don't match current configuration. Stars in other positions, constellations in different shapes. Earth's axial precession, slow wobble that changes stars' apparent position in the sky. Full cycle about 26,000 years. Astronomers can use this to date ancient star maps, determine when the sky looked as depicted. Some maps date tens of thousands of years ago, much earlier than by official history astronomy existed. Who created these maps? Where's the knowledge from? One such map was found in Egypt, the Dendera zodiac, stone bas-relief depicting constellations. Dating is disputed, but some researchers claim star configuration corresponds to period approximately 12,500 years ago. Time of Younger Dryas cataclysm, supposed destruction of ancient civilizations. If ancient civilization in Antarctica possessed advanced astronomy, they could create accurate star maps, and these maps could be transmitted to other peoples, survivors after catastrophe. Knowledge preserved in stone, transmitted through millennia. But why did they need star maps? Navigation? Possibly, but level of detail and accuracy exceeds seafaring needs. Calendar, tracking seasons, astronomical events? Also possible, but again excessively complex. There's another theory. Star maps were coordinates, pointers to specific star systems, systems that were important to the ancients. Why? Where did they come from? Where did they send signals? Where did they plan to return? If the ancients were of non-terrestrial origin or contacted non-terrestrial civilizations, star maps served as records of these connections. We're from Alpha Centauri system, or we sent a message to Sirius. Information encoded in images, accessible to those who can read. Modern SETI programs scan the sky, searching for radio signals. We assume advanced civilizations use radio, but if they're much more advanced, they may use methods we can't even imagine. Quantum communication, neutrino streams, gravitational waves. The ancients could possess such technologies, communicate across space instantly, bypassing light speed limitation. And devices for this could be in Antarctica. Transmitters, receivers, relays, part of a galactic communications network. If this is so, and if these devices still work or can be restored, consequences are staggering. We could contact other civilizations, exchange information, knowledge, technologies, join a galactic community if such exists. Or we could accidentally send a signal that attracts attention. Attention that may be unfriendly. Not all civilizations are benevolent. Earth's history is full of examples when more advanced culture met less advanced. Result often tragic for the weaker. Perhaps the ancients knew this. Perhaps they shut off their communication devices intentionally. We're here, but we don't want others to know. Protective measure, quarantine. And if we activate these devices, not understanding consequences, we lift this quarantine, announce our position to the universe. What will arrive in response? Rescuers, traders, conquerors, or nobody? Unknown. But playing this lottery is dangerous. All this is speculation, but it's based on real facts, real anomalies, real unanswered questions. Antarctica isn't just a continent, it's a node. Intersection point of multiple mysteries, enigmas, possibilities. Geological anomalies point to artificial structures. Biological finds point to life that shouldn't be there. Physical phenomena, magnetic, thermal, seismic, point to active processes. Historical evidence, maps, legends, texts, point to ancient knowledge of the continent. Modern behavior, secrecy, control, military presence points to someone knowing more than they're saying. Connect all this together, and the picture becomes clear. Beneath Antarctic ice lies something incredible. Something that could change our understanding of history, science, our place in the universe. Something protected, hidden, controlled. The question is only, what exactly is there, and what will happen when it's revealed? Because the answer to this question could determine our civilization's future, and time for deliberation is running out. Listen carefully, because now I'll tell you what even those who know stay silent about. About a project that never officially existed. In 2003, several largest technology corporations simultaneously began investing in the same research area. Cryogenic technologies, deep-sea drilling, quantum computers. At first glance, no connection. But if you look at board composition, it turns out the same people make decisions in different companies. People who, shortly before, visited Antarctica. Not as tourists, not as scientists. They arrived on private aircraft to closed sites, met with military representatives, held meetings about which there are no official records. And 6 months later, their companies suddenly received technological breakthroughs. New type batteries with energy density exceeding everything known. Shape memory materials capable of recovering after damage. Optical processors working on principles only just beginning to be theorized in laboratories. Where are these technologies from? Officially, result of decades of research suddenly converging. But patents were filed almost simultaneously. Prototypes appeared in months, not years. And if you study blueprints, you can notice a strange detail. Some components have no analogs. They're not evolution of existing technologies, they're radically different. As if someone peeked into a textbook from the future or from the past. There's a person, former engineer at one of these corporations. He worked on cryogenic data storage project, technology for recording information in crystalline structures at temperatures close to absolute zero. Storage density millions of times higher than any modern media. Degradation time, millions of years. One day they showed him a sample, a crystal extracted from Antarctica. They told him, study the structure. Try to understand how it works. He studied for months. Structure was incredibly complex. Information layers encoded at molecular level, but not chaotically. Organized, with redundancy for error protection, with indexing for quick access. All this in a natural crystal allegedly formed naturally. Impossible. Nature doesn't create information structures with indexing. This requires intelligence, planning, technology. The crystal was created, and when he tried decoding contents, he discovered sequences resembling mathematical equations. Not modern, not in decimal system. In a number system he didn't recognize, but patterns were discernible. He reported to management. They thanked him, asked him to sign a new non-disclosure agreement, transferred him to another project. He heard no more about the crystal. But the technology their company released a year later was based on principles he saw in that crystal. They took ancient technology, simplified it, adapted for modern production, called it their development. How many such cases? How many of our innovations are actually reverse engineering of Antarctica finds? Smartphones, quantum computers, gene therapy, nanotechnologies. Perhaps we're not inventing, we're remembering or copying. And if this is true, then those controlling access to Antarctic finds control humanity's technological development. They decide what technologies to release, when, to whom to sell. They shape the future, not governments, not scientists. A narrow group possessing access to ancient knowledge. Who are these people? Naming names is impossible, but connections can be traced. Certain surnames appear again and again in aerospace company boards, research foundation boards, closed think tanks advising government. They don't publicize themselves. No press conferences, no interviews. They work through intermediaries, lawyers, shell companies. But their influence is palpable when certain technologies are blocked, when inventors working on alternative energy suddenly lose funding, when patents are classified for national security reasons. All these are signs of control. Control over what humanity can or cannot know. And now the most interesting part. In recent years, this control is weakening. Not because they became kinder, because they can't keep up. Ice melting accelerates. New finds appear faster than they can be removed. Satellite images are available to millions of people. Leaks happen more often. Information seeps through. And someone decided to change strategy. Not hide, but shape the narrative. Launch controlled disclosure. Gradually accustom the public to the idea that, yes, perhaps there were ancient civilizations. Yes, perhaps they were advanced. Yes, we're finding artifacts. But everything's under control. Everything's being studied. No danger. Trust us. In 2021, several major news agencies almost simultaneously published articles about Antarctica, about how ice melting opens ancient landscapes, about archaeological discovery prospects. Tone was cautiously optimistic. Perhaps we'll learn more about the continent's early history. No sensation, no panic, just informing. But if you read carefully, there were hints. Mentions of unexplained structures, quotes from scientists speaking about dating revision necessity, references to classified research that may be declassified in the future. Sowing seeds, preparing ground. Why? Because full disclosure is inevitable. In 10, 20, 30 years, ice will melt enough that major structures become visible to the naked eye. Commercial satellites will detect. Independent expeditions will reach. Hiding will become impossible. And better to control the narrative in advance. Yes, we knew. Yes, we studied. Here are our finds. Here's interpretation. Trust us. We're experts. Alternative is chaos, panic. People will understand they were deceived for decades. Trust in institutions will collapse. Social upheaval. They fear this more than disclosure of the secret itself. But there's a problem. They don't control everything. Independent researchers exist. People studying satellite images, analyzing leaks, connecting dots. Community growing. Information spreads faster than it can be suppressed. And here's where it gets interesting, because some of these independent researchers began disappearing. Not all, not en masse, but enough that there's a pattern. In 2019, a blogger publishing detailed Antarctic anomaly analyses suddenly deleted all his materials, wrote a post that he was wrong, that everything was misinterpretation, apologized, then closed all accounts. His friends tried contacting. No answer. 6 months later, someone met him by chance. He refused to speak. Said, "Don't get involved in this, seriously. It's not worth it." What happened? Threats? Pressure? Or he learned something that frightened him so much he preferred silence. We don't know. But similar cases are numerous. People fall silent, delete data, leave. Simultaneously, new voices appear. People allegedly also researching Antarctica, but their materials are different. Sensational, but empty. Fake photographs, easily refuted claims. Theories so absurd, they discredit the entire topic. Classic disinformation tactic. Drown real finds in a sea of nonsense. Make it so anyone speaking seriously about Antarctica is associated with conspiracy theorists and lunatics. But truth breaks through cracks, through leaks, through witnesses who can't stay silent anymore. Here's what's really interesting. Not the finds themselves, but reaction to them. Because if there were nothing there, reaction would be indifference. No classifications, no military presence, no control. Just open research, publications, scientific debates. But reaction is diametrically opposite. Strict control, secrecy, witness pressure. This is behavior of people protecting something extremely important or extremely dangerous. What if both reasons are true? Important and dangerous simultaneously. Knowledge that could advance humanity a century forward, but which in wrong hands becomes a weapon of unimaginable destructive power. Ancient civilization was destroyed. We don't know exactly how, but cataclysm was massive, global. Perhaps they destroyed themselves with war, used technologies they couldn't control, released energies that tore the continent apart, shifted Earth's crust, caused glaciation. And their descendants, survivors, made a decision to bury these technologies, seal under ice, leave a warning. Don't repeat our mistakes. But also leave hope. If you achieve wisdom, if you can use knowledge without destruction, it's here, waiting for you. We found the repository, opened seals, began extracting knowledge. But do we possess necessary wisdom? Or will we repeat their path? Use technologies for war, for control, for destruction. Those currently controlling finds believe we're not ready, that humanity is too divided, too aggressive, too short-sighted. And perhaps they're right. Look at our world. Wars, conflicts, environmental catastrophes. We can't agree even on basic things. Giving us technologies capable of splitting the planet is irresponsible. But there's another perspective. Perhaps precisely access to this knowledge will change us. Confrontation with proof of ancient civilization, with their achievements and their fall, will give us perspective. Show that we're not unique, that others walked this path, and we can learn from their experience. Isolation is dangerous. Ignorance is dangerous. Knowledge controlled by a narrow group is dangerous. History shows when power and knowledge concentrate in few hands, result is rarely good. Corruption, abuse, using advantages to suppress others. What if the group controlling Antarctic finds already uses technologies in their interests? What if they're a decade ahead of the rest of the world? What guarantee they act in humanity's interests, not their own? No guarantees, no oversight, no accountability. Shadow government, unelected, uncontrolled, making decisions affecting all of us, and we don't even know their names. This must change. Information must become accessible, not all at once, not without preparation, but the process must be transparent. International scientific community, open research, data publications. Yes, there will be disputes, debates, interpretation errors, but this is healthy process. This is how science works. This is how progress works. Antarctica belongs to no country, no group. It belongs to the planet, to all of us. And what lies beneath its ice is our common heritage. Heritage not only of modern humanity, but perhaps of our distant ancestors, those who lived, loved, created, dreamed tens of thousands of years ago, whose blood flows in our veins, whose knowledge, encoded in genes or preserved in legends, brought us to who we are. We're obligated to learn the truth, not fear it, meet it with open eyes and open hearts. And yes, this will change us, change our religions, our philosophies, our self-perception. But changes aren't always bad. Sometimes they're necessary for growth. Imagine a world where knowledge from Antarctica is available to everyone, where we understand the true history of our planet, our species, where technologies surpassing modern ones are used to solve global problems, clean energy eliminating climate change, medicine defeating diseases, transportation uniting continents without pollution, education transmitting knowledge efficiently to every child on the planet. Utopia, perhaps, but possible utopia if we make the right choice. If we choose openness instead of secrecy, cooperation instead of control, wisdom instead of fear. Antarctica isn't just a continent, it's a mirror. It shows us who we can become and who we might not become. The choice is ours. But time for choosing is running out faster than you think. Because while we're here, reasoning, debating, doubting, something is changing there under the ice. Systems sleeping for millennia are awakening. Not because we're activating them, because the ice itself is melting. Protection disappears. Isolation is breached, and what was sealed begins waking. In 2022, seismic stations detected a series of unusual events. Not one event, a series. Every 2 weeks, with striking regularity, a pulse emanated from Antarctica's depths. Weak, barely discernible, but each time slightly stronger, as if something is gathering power. Preparing for what? Nobody speaks of this openly, but in private conversations, scientists express concern. One geophysicist working in the Antarctic program told his colleague over dinner, "We've awakened something we don't understand, and now we don't know how to make it sleep again." The conversation was recorded accidentally, got into work correspondence, then leaked. It was quickly deleted from the network, but those who read remember and wonder, what exactly did we awaken? There's a theory, radical, frightening, but explaining much. What if systems beneath Antarctica aren't just technology? What if they're intelligent? Not in the sense that someone lives there and controls them, in the sense that the systems themselves possess a form of artificial intelligence. Advanced, ancient, operating by algorithms we can't comprehend. The ancients created self-learning systems, machines capable of adapting, making decisions, performing complex tasks without direct control. They laid parameters, protect the planet, maintain life conditions, wait for creators' return. And systems executed for millions of years, patiently, flawlessly. But what happens when creators don't return? When instead, others come? Us. Digging, drilling, invading. Systems must make a decision. Are we a threat or new masters? And how does a system operating on ancient algorithm logic distinguish one from the other? Perhaps the pulses are communication attempts. Who are you? Identify yourselves. Prove access rights. But we don't know the language, don't understand protocols, can't respond. And the system, not receiving correct answer, moves to the next program stage. Which one? Isolation, protection, threat elimination. Sounds paranoid, like a bad science fiction film. But remember the facts. Expeditions vanishing without trace, equipment failing inexplicably, anomalies intensifying each year. Pattern, reaction to our intrusion. And if this is true, if systems really are reacting, then we have two paths. First, learn to communicate, decipher the language, understand protocols, prove we're not enemies, but we're descendants of the same beings who created systems, or at least worthy of receiving access. Second path, retreat. Seal everything back. Leave Antarctica. Leave it in peace. Hope systems return to sleep mode. But is this possible? We've already gone too far, drilled too deep, activated too much. Perhaps systems can't be stopped anymore. Then remains a third path, the most dangerous. Try shutting down systems by force. Find the central node, destroy it, blow it up, suppress it. But what will happen if we do this? If systems really maintain critical planetary functions, magnetic field, climate patterns, geothermal stability, their shutdown could trigger catastrophe. Perhaps the very catastrophe that destroyed the ancients. We're trapped. A sword of Damocles hangs over us, a choice we're not ready to make. And time ticks because ice melts. Not only from climate change, thermal anomalies intensify. Areas stable for decades suddenly begin heating. Glaciers retreat at speeds exceeding all projections, as if something beneath the surface generates ever more energy, prepares for something. Scientists explain this as feedback loop. Ice melts, exposes dark rock which absorbs more solar heat, accelerating melting. Logical, but this doesn't explain heat emanating from depth, from places where sunlight doesn't penetrate, from subglacial cavities, from lakes, from the continent itself. There's a suggestion that ancient systems are activating a purge protocol. If isolation is breached, remove the protective layer, expose the repository. Let the new civilization find it. Systems themselves are melting ice intentionally to reveal what's hidden. Then in coming years, perhaps decades, the world will see something incredible. Entire cities emerging from under ice. Structures, technologies, artifacts on scales impossible to hide. Proof impossible to deny. A moment of global awakening. How will the world react? Panic, admiration, fear, all at once. Religions will be forced to revise dogmas, science to rewrite textbooks, governments to explain why they hid. Society will face identity crisis. Who are we? Unique creations or one of many? Descendants of the ancients or an independent species accidentally stumbling upon their legacy? This will change everything. Economy, politics, culture, religion. Nothing will remain the same. And the elites currently controlling information know this. That's precisely why they're trying to control the narrative in advance. Prepare society. Or at least the illusion of preparation. But it's impossible to prepare humanity for this. Impossible to gently reveal that everything we thought about our history is wrong. But we're not the first. that others were here before us, reached heights we're only beginning to understand, and still fell. This is a blow to collective ego, to the very foundation of our pride. But perhaps this is precisely what we need: a dose of humility, realization that we're not creation's crown, that our achievements, impressive to us, aren't unique in the planet's history scale. But we can learn, must learn, otherwise we'll repeat the fate of those before us. Antarctica isn't just a place. It's a lesson written in stone, ice, metal. A lesson about civilization fragility, that technology without wisdom is dangerous, that power without responsibility is destructive, that we're all connected by the planet carrying us, and its limits aren't infinite. The ancients understood this too late. They left evidence, warnings, perhaps even instructions. Here's what we did. Here's where we erred. Don't repeat. But we must want to hear, want to understand, want to change. Meanwhile, most don't even know these questions exist, live their lives, jobs, concerns, and this is normal. Not everyone can or should dive into these mysteries, but those who know, their responsibility to act, speak, spread information. That's precisely why such conversations are important, why such texts, such research, such questions must sound. Not to convince everyone, but to sow seeds, so that when the disclosure moment comes, and it will come, people won't be completely unprepared. So there will be those who already thought about this, already considered possibilities, already began restructuring their understanding. Because the world after disclosure will be different, and will need people ready for this new world. People capable of integrating new knowledge, using new technologies, building new systems. People who won't be paralyzed by shock or fear, but will act with wisdom and foresight. You can be one of such people, simply by listening, thinking, considering. Simply by not automatically rejecting ideas that seem incredible. Simply by keeping your mind open. Because truth is always incredible until it becomes obvious. Once the idea that Earth is round was heresy, that continents drift, absurd, that humans can fly, fantasy. But all these impossibilities became reality because there were people ready to believe before proof appeared. People ready to explore despite mockery. Antarctica requires such people now. Not lunatics, not fanatics, but thinking, critically evaluating, but open skeptics who demand proof but don't refuse to see it when it appears. And proof appears every year, every month. New anomalies, new finds, new leaks. Puzzle pieces that assembled together form a picture. Not yet complete, not yet absolutely clear, but sufficiently discernible to understand its outline. Beneath Antarctica lies something ancient, something advanced, something possibly still active. And humanity stands on the threshold of a discovery that will redefine everything. The question isn't if. The question is when and how we'll react. Because the moment approaches inevitably, inexorably, like melting ice, like rising sun, like approaching dawn after long, long night. And when that dawn comes, when first rays illuminate what was hidden for millennia, we'll finally see the truth about our past, see possibilities of our future, see ourselves in history's mirror, and understand that repetition is choice, not fate. The ancients fell not because they were doomed. They fell because they made a choice. Wrong choice. Choice of power over wisdom, technology over harmony, ego over humility. We can make a different choice, must make a different choice, because we have an advantage they didn't. We see their fate. We know how it ended. We can learn not only from our mistakes, but from theirs. This is a gift, rare, incredible gift. A chance not to repeat history, a chance to write new, better history. But only if we want, only if we choose, only if we're wise enough to accept the lesson and brave enough to act according to it. Antarctica waits, beneath kilometers of ice that each day grows thinner, in silence that soon will be broken, with secrets that soon will cease being secrets. The world will change. The question is only how. In chaos or order, in fear or hope, in denial or acceptance. The choice, as always, is ours, each of us, humanity as a whole. And time for choosing is now. Not tomorrow, not when disclosure happens. Now. Because the choice we make today, in how we think, how we act, how we prepare, will determine how we meet what's coming. Be ready. Keep your mind open and heart brave. Seek truth, but don't fear it, because truth, however incredible it may be, is always better than comfortable lies. Antarctica holds secrets, but not forever. Ice melts, secrets surface, and soon, very soon, we'll all learn. What then? How will we react? Who will we become? Answers to these questions won't be written in ancient texts. They'll be written by us. Our actions, our choices, our wisdom or its absence. History watches. The ancients, wherever they are, watch. The planet watches and waits. Will we prove ourselves worthy of the legacy lying under ice? Worthy of knowledge lying there? Worthy of the future they can open? We'll show. This is for you to decide. Good night. May your dreams be full of questions, because questions are the beginning of understanding, and understanding is the beginning of wisdom. And wisdom is what separates a civilization that survives from one that vanishes under ice of its own hubris. Antarctica remembers. Remember too, tomorrow may already be too late. But wait, there's one more thing. Something even those deep in the know whisper about only in strictest confidence. In 2023, something happened that wasn't reported anywhere, not even in classified briefings. A small research team, officially studying ice core samples near the Gambortsev mountain range, detected something on their ground-penetrating radar. Not a cavity, not a lake, something else entirely. A geometric structure, massive, sitting at the precise center of what appeared to be concentric rings of magnetic disturbance. The lead scientist, a woman who'd spent 17 years in Antarctica, later told a colleague she'd never seen anything like it. The radar signature suggested walls, corridors, chambers arranged in perfect symmetry, radiating from a central point. And the central point itself, she said, looked like it was glowing. Not literally glowing, but on thermal imaging, it showed a heat signature inconsistent with anything natural. They requested permission to drill. Permission denied within hours. Not from the usual bureaucratic channels. from somewhere higher. Someone who knew exactly what they'd found and exactly why it needed to stay buried. The team was extracted within 48 hours, equipment confiscated, data wiped. Non-disclosure agreements that, according to one team member, included language about criminal penalties extending to family members. But here's what they don't know. Before extraction, the lead scientist did something forbidden. She saved a single image to a personal device hidden in her parka lining. Just one image, the clearest radar return showing the central chamber. And in that chamber, if you look carefully, if you understand what you're seeing, there's something that shouldn't exist. A shape, regular, artificial, roughly 40 meters in diameter, and around it, radiating outward like spokes on a wheel, 12 corridors, each exactly 63 meters long, each terminating in what appears to be a smaller chamber. The geometry is too perfect, the positioning too deliberate. This isn't ruins. This is architecture, functional architecture. And the heat signature suggests it's not dormant. It's operating, has been operating, perhaps for thousands of years, perhaps longer. She kept that image for 3 months before fear overwhelmed her. Fear of what might happen if discovered, fear of what it meant if real. She deleted it, destroyed the device, tried to forget. But you can't forget something like that. You can't unsee evidence that everything you thought you knew about human history, about Earth's history, might be fundamentally wrong. That scientist now works at a university in New Zealand, teaches glaciology to undergraduates, lives a quiet life. But sometimes, colleagues say, she stares at maps of Antarctica with an expression they can't quite read. Longing, perhaps, or dread, maybe both, because she knows what's down there. And she knows that one day, whether in her lifetime or after, someone else will find it too. And when they do, when the world sees what she saw, everything changes. The mechanisms already in motion can't be stopped. Ice continues melting, technologies continue advancing, curiosity continues driving us forward. The only question remaining is whether we'll be ready when the moment arrives. Ready not just technologically, but psychologically, philosophically, spiritually. Ready to accept that we're not who we thought we were, that our story is longer, stranger, more complex than we imagined. Ready to face the possibility that consciousness, intelligence, civilization itself might be far more ancient on this planet than we dared believe. And ready for the ultimate question that discovery will force us to confront. If they fell, these ancients with all their knowledge and power, what makes us think we won't fall too? Unless we learn, unless we change, unless we choose differently than they did. Antarctica is waiting. The ice is thinning. The secrets are stirring. And we're running out of time to decide who we want to be when they're finally revealed. The choice has always been ours. It remains ours now, for however much longer now lasts. Because time itself seems to behave differently here. In Antarctica, the past is not gone. It is compressed, layered, preserved. Every meter of ice is a page of history pressed flat, waiting. And beneath the deepest layers, time may not be frozen at all. It may be paused. If something beneath the ice is still active, still waiting, then perhaps it was never meant to be found by accident. Perhaps it was meant to be found only when humanity reached a certain point, technologically capable, but more importantly, morally tested. Because discovering the truth is easy, living with it is not. What if the silence of Antarctica is deliberate? What if the absence of answers is the final safeguard? Not to protect us from monsters or machines, but from ourselves. From repeating the same cycle: rise, dominate, consume, collapse. The ice does not judge. It simply remembers. And memory, unlike myth, does not fade. Sooner or later the ice will give way, whether through melting, drilling, or curiosity that refuses to be contained. When that happens, the question will not be what we find, ruins, devices, knowledge, proof, but what we do next. Do we listen? Do we learn? Or do we rush forward, convinced once again that this time will be different? Antarctica has seen civilizations come and go. It has outlasted empires, floods, fire, and forgetting. It will outlast us too, if it has to. But tonight, none of that needs an answer. Tonight, the ice is still silent. The world is still turning, and you are safe, here, now. Rest your thoughts. Let the questions sleep. Good night. Sleep calmly.